What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the show. We got some breaking news today. Shaq Griffin is returning to Seattle. The veteran cornerback is back. Plus, we talk about why one analyst believes the Seahawks took a big gamble this offseason. And finally, the Seattle Seahawks were left off the NFL's projected all-rookie team. We talk about what that means for the team and why I think that clearly something is up. All right, let's get into it. But first, with Shaq Griffin, this is a big deal. I think this is actually a pretty big deal because Shaq Griffin had a good season last year. He was a good player in the past for Seattle, and now he's coming back on a one-year deal. Yeah, that's right. It's a one-year, $3 million deal that welcomes veteran cornerback and former Seattle Seahawk Shaquille Griffin back to the team. Now, let's be completely precise here. There are two Shaq Griffins. This is Shaquille Griffin. So if you remember, the Seahawks in the past had two Shaq Griffins. One of them was Shaquille Griffin, and the other was his brother, Shaquem Griffin. Shaquille was the one who was a starter. He was the one who really was an impact-level player. He got a big contract in Jacksonville. Shaquem was the one who was more of a backup linebacker. He obviously had he was missing a hand. That was his really cool story. The Seahawks, they're going with Shaquille, not Shaquem. So, yeah, that is who they've signed. He's the better player of the two. It's a $3 million deal worth up to $4 million. And, yeah, I like this deal a lot for the Seahawks. Look, we've been looking for another cornerback for a while. A lot of people thought maybe Jair Alexander could be that guy. I understand why they hoped it could be him, but Baltimore ended up getting him for a very similar price, actually. Seahawks get Shaq for just about $1 million cheaper. But yeah, it's a good deal. Former Pro Bowler, and he'll kind of fill that number 3 role. Obviously, we know Witherspoon and Reek Woolen are your two starters, and then after that, Josh Jobe is probably your next best. I think Shaquille Griffin probably passes Josh Jobe on the depth chart, and probably he kind of is going to become that top, that number 3, not top, but he's going to be the number 3 cornerback on this team going forward, I think. Is there a chance Josh Jobe sticks around and ends up, knocking Shaq Griffin down the depth chart? Sure, there's a chance. But I think what we saw out of Shaq Griffin last year, combined with what we know he can do, what we've seen him do in Seattle before, I think that it's pretty reasonable to expect that he can be that number 3 guy. He did only play 19 games with the Jaguars, missed his final 11. He was released in 2023. Spent a little bit of time with Houston and with Carolina, then ended up going to the Minnesota Vikings. Last year, he played in all 17 games, made 3 starts, 2 interceptions. He played 572 snaps. Over his entire career, he has 9 picks, 70 passes defended in 106 games. Yeah, he's a good cornerback. I mean, he's just a solid, reliable cornerback. He's not a guy that you write home about saying, man, this is the best cornerback in the league, but he is really good, and he does his job. And he defends passes well. He gets some picks. Last year, he played a really, really good kind of nickel cornerback role with Minnesota, and I think he can do it again in Seattle. All right, let's move on to my next topic. One NFL insider says the Seahawks took a gamble this offseason. Let's get more specific about it. This guy, Ben Arthur of Fox Sports, he put out an article yesterday saying one word to describe every team's offseason. So he's basically just boiling it down to the most simple thing he can do and picking one word for every team. So for some examples, the Falcons, he said mishandled. The Buffalo Bills, he said vital. For the Panthers, he has optimism. For the Browns, crowded. For the Broncos, revamped. For the Steelers, delusional. And for the Seattle Seahawks, gamble. He writes, quote, Sam Darnold had a resurgent 2024 with the Vikings, but there's a big risk the Seahawks are taking in the former number 3 overall pick, who replaces Geno Smith as QB1. In Seattle, Darnold won't have Kevin O'Connell or nearly the same caliber of an offensive cast that he had in Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, I agree with the sentiment. I do think it's somewhat of a gamble, and I think that maybe even more of a gamble than Darnold is the gamble that you're going to trust a big portion of your offense to Cooper Kupp, who has definitely spent his fair share of time on the injured list. I mean, let's be completely honest with what we're at. Cooper Kupp is not one of the healthiest players in the league. And at this point in his career, is it wise for the Seattle Seahawks to trust him with, we're putting a lot of trust in Cooper Kupp. He's basically our number 2 guy. That's probably the biggest gamble, I would say. I don't know. I mean, I think Sam Darnold will be good. I don't know why people think that Darnold's going to just turn back into a terrible player, but maybe he will, and maybe that is a gamble. You look at some of these other teams that they've got. I mean, how about the San Francisco 49ers, right? Your biggest rival. What do they say? Well, it's refresh. San Francisco is refresh. That's probably a little more optimistic than gamble, right? Okay, I can see that, I guess, but the Seahawks also kind of got a refresh. So when you're saying the Niners were refreshed when they made a bunch of changes, but the Seahawks, who also made a bunch of changes, they're gambling? It seems like there's a little bit of bias here towards the 49ers, but you never know. Let's look at how about our other division rival, the Los Angeles Rams. Well, the Rams, their word is curiosity. Curious about how will Devontae Adams stack up. Curious about how Matthew Stafford will compete at age 37. Okay, I get that. And for the Cardinals, they say it's anticipation. They're anticipating Marvin Harrison Jr. will break out. They're anticipating that Will Johnson will break out. Okay, so the Cardinals get to be anticipating their day 2 draft pick, Will Johnson. Didn't even go in the first round, but they're anticipating him. But the Seahawks, who also had some great draft picks, they are gambling. Okay, I mean, fine, whatever. I know these articles just exist for clickbait, but personally, I mean, do you see my point, right? I mean, you could make the argument that the Seahawks should have said the word refresh, just like the Niners did. You could say the Seahawks could have been the anticipation, because, yeah, we are anticipating a lot of things. We're anticipating our draft picks. We're anticipating for Byron Murphy to break out. We're anticipating for Jackson Smith and Jigba to really, truly complete his breakout. I know he kind of broke out last year already, but we're still anticipating more out of him. I mean, it's not like Marvin Harrison had a bad season last year, but they're anticipating more out of him. Why can't we anticipate more out of JSN? So, again, I'm not trying to be annoying about this, but to say gamble for us, I feel like a lot of these teams, he picked pretty generic words, and I think you could apply them to a lot. I think we could be anticipating, we could be refreshing, we could even be curious, right? Maybe I'm curious about the Seahawks, but yet we get the gamble. The other 3 teams in our division all get pretty good words for them, but I don't know. Let's move on to the last thing I want to talk about today. The NFL projected who will be on the all-rookie team for 2025, and continuing with today's theme of the Seahawks being disrespected, yeah, Seattle was left off. So, again, I mean, at this point, I don't know what the Seahawks have to do to get some national attention. They've projected that Cam Ward will be the quarterback, the best quarterback as a rookie. Ashton Jeanty will be the running back. No argument for me here. Obviously, Jalen Miller probably not even going to play, so I'm fine with this. Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State, he beats out the Seahawks rookie Damian Martinez, and again, I'm fine with that. He was a first-round pick, and Martinez is a seventh-round pick. But then you get into some of these other ones. Wide receiver, Travis Hunter and Kyle Williams out of Wazoo, actually. I like that choice. I'm a big Wazoo guy, but again, I'm fine with that. Torrey Horton, I think he'll be good. I don't know if he'll be one of the 2 best rookie receivers. The Colston Loveland for tight end, the first-round pick, who beats out Seattle Seahawk Elijah Arroyo, which again, I'm fine with that. When I see Elijah Arroyo, I think he'll be good. I think Colston Loveland probably better. But here's where I really start to get annoyed, is they give their 5 linemen. They have Armand Membu, okay, first round, 7th overall. They have Josh Simmons, number 32 overall for the Chiefs. They have Tyler Booker, number 12 overall for the Dallas Cowboys. They have Wyatt Millum, number 89 overall for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they have Tate Ratledge, number 57 overall for the Detroit Lions at center. Now, here's where I get annoyed, is that you pick 2 linemen who were drafted in the 2nd and 3rd round, and where's Gray Zabel? Right? Where's Gray Zabel? And I understand that, I guess, Gray Zabel is an offensive tackle, not a guard, but then why did he not beat out Josh Simmons? Right? They have Josh Simmons, number 32 overall from the Kansas City Chiefs, but no Gray Zabel on there. And personally, I think Gray Zabel will be one of the 4 best offensive linemen next year. I think for rookies, I think there's almost no way. The number 17 overall pick, he's ready to play in the NFL right now. And again, here's the NFL sleeping on Gray Zabel. They don't seem to respect his game. So again, to Gray Zabel, I say to you, go out and prove these guys wrong and show the world what you can do, right? Show the world what you can do. Prove that you're better than Josh Simmons. Prove that you're better than Wyatt Millum. Prove that you're better than Tate Ratledge, because I think that he can be. All right, moving on to the defense. Again, at edge rusher, we didn't really draft an edge rusher, so obviously we're not going to be on there. It's Abdul Carter. At defensive tackle, they like Mason Graham and Derek Harmon. Again, we didn't really draft anybody there. They like Demetrius Knight at linebacker. They like Will Johnson at cornerback, as well as Trey Amos. And then you get to the safeties. And here's again where I find a little bit of annoyance. Malachi Starks is one of them, which again, that's a good call. Number 27 overall pick to the Baltimore Ravens, first rounder. And then the other safety is Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. The Falcons took him at number 96 overall. So he's the lowest draft pick to get on this projected all-rookie team. And again, here's where I say, where's Nick Emenwari on this list? I understand he's a project. I understand that he might not see the field as a starter right away. But Nick Emenwari was probably the best safety in this draft. I mean, most people thought that he was. That's what a lot of people thought. He was the best athlete in the draft for sure. And yet, Xavier Watson makes this list, but not Nick Emenwari. I mean, what are we doing here, guys? What are we doing? So, 2 Seahawks now, I would say, have been completely snubbed. I think Elijah Arroyo also kind of got snubbed, because I do think that if they had included 2 tight ends, Arroyo has as good of an argument as anyone to be the second one that they included, but they only included 1. And again, I get that what they were trying to do, they only get to pick 11 players, but still, I mean, most teams use 2 tight ends pretty often. Why can't you pick a second one? I don't know. It's just me. I'm just going off on tangents now. But again, Nick Emenwari, I think he should be here. I think that he can easily be one of the 2 best rookie safeties in the league. With that all being said, guys, that's going to wrap things up for today. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel for more content. And as always, until next time, go Seahawks.